Hi everyone, my name is Sophie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have an exciting knitting podcast for you with 1 finished objects, 2 works in progress, and 2 acquisitions and spring plans. I haven't made a dedicated video about my spring plans this year, but I do have 3 actually spring plans that I kind of want to get done before I have a baby this summer, so this video will be kind of a half of a spring planning video, I guess. If you're interested, then definitely stay tuned and enjoy the video. I will get right into it with my first finished object of the last couple of weeks. I made this finished object for one of my colleagues. She will be my midwife after birth, so she will be the one doing home visits when I had our baby. And I wanted to make something in advance for her as a gift and a little thank you, because I know that I will be very happy that she will be coming to visit me. So I decided to cast on a small or medium-sized scarf for her. I decided to do this sorghum-free scarf by Guri Pedersen, and excuse me, I have my notes down here. I think this is the first video where I actually wrote down notes because pregnancy brain is starting to get to me and I need to be more organized in these videos anyway, so I'm gonna look down at my notes every now and then. So I chose to do this sorghum free scarf by Indie Blomst is her name on Instagram, and the designer's name is Guri Pedersen. This is a small scarf, as I said. This is how big it is. The suggested yarn for this is Lang Yarn's cashmere yarn, which is a DK weight yarn. I made this scarf in the Cardiff Cashmere Classic, which is also a DK weight yarn. 110 meters are about 25 grams of this, and I used 60 grams for this project. I chose the color 647 Cosmo, which is this dark blue color, and as you can see, this organ-free scarf is a ribbed scarf or little shawl, but you can't really see it with this dark color that I chose. However, my colleague really likes dark blue, so that's why I went with this colorway anyways. I knit this scarf on a 3.5 millimeter needle and got gauge for what the pattern suggests. It is a free pattern and it comes in English and in Norwegian. I found it very simple to follow. It was engaging because it's done in this couple of rows repeat. You start at the very tip of this shawl and then work your way up and get wider and wider as the scarf grows. She, I think, recommends using 2 or 3 skeins of yarn for this, but you could make it much bigger than this or even a little bit smaller. I think 2 skeins is the minimum to be able to tie it around your neck nicely. This could be tied around the neck twice, but I think it looks much better when it's just worn like this with the tip at the back and then 1 or 2 knots at the front. As I said, I used about 60 grams of the Cardiff Cashmere. That's because I had a little bit left from a project that I did before, and then I purchased 2 more skeins at my local yarn shop. So I used all of it up in the end, I wouldn't recommend doing this with 60 grams, because if you bought the 3 skeins of Cardiff cashmere, then you would be left with a little bit. I just used the little rest that I had from the other project up. That's why it's this weird amount. I measured it. It is about 105 centimeters wide and 30 centimeters tall from the very tip where I cast it on to the top of the scarf, which is the cast off edge. All of these details are also written down in my Ravelry, so if you want to check that out, then you will find it in the description box below. I'm really happy with this pattern. It is a free pattern, which makes it even more fun to do, I think. You can sign up to her newsletter and then you will be sent this pattern. So I would knit this again, maybe in a little bit of a lighter color so that the ribbing can shine a little bit more. So the sorghum-free scarf was the only finished object of the last couple of weeks. I did cast on some projects though, and that's what I want to share with you now. I have 2 whips with me today, one smaller one that I will put aside for now, and then a bigger one that you have not seen in the last podcast episode. This is the first time I'm showing you this. This jacket was a plan in the last episode. So I have made a lot of progress on it, obviously. I knit on this almost monogamously in the last couple of weeks. I have really been enjoying it. So that's why it's kind of making its first appearance almost finished now in this podcast episode. It is the Port Jacket by Ozetta. The pattern is about $7 and I started this pattern on March 25th. I only have the button band left. It is, I think, a double knitted button band that has to be added to this jacket, and then I will block it and hopefully get to wear it on cold spring days here in Germany. The recommended yarn from Ozetta, the pattern designer, is Istex Lead Lopi, which is an Aran weight single ply wool, and I did have some yarn and stash that I definitely wanted to use for this pattern, and that's why I used the Rerum Natura Gilia in the color Tempête, which is a really nice dark blue color that kind of has a marling in it, so it's not completely just dark blue. It has some specks of kind of lighter blue and black woven into it, like a thunderstorm does, which is what Tempête means. And I held this with Ito Sensai, which is a mohair yarn in the color 341 Orient Blue. I did have 500 grams of the Rerum Natura Gilia left, and I did have about 100 grams of the Ito Sensai left in stash. And when starting this project, I kind of chose the size based on what I have left, which means that I am knitting a size medium, which gives me about 30 centimeters of positive ease. My bust circumference is about 90 centimeters, and this finished object will hopefully have a bust circumference of about 120 centimeters. I ran into a little bit of an issue with the amount of Ito Sensai that I had in stash, which was only 100 grams, and the pattern does suggest or say that you need more than 100 grams, which is the reason why I went to my local yarn store to see if the Ito Sensai colorway was still available. And since the Ito that I had in the Orient Blue they did not have in stock at my local yarn shop, and I didn't feel like ordering some online. I then went with the La Mana Premia mohair, silk mohair, that they had in the colorway 11, which is a little bit lighter than the Orient Blue, but still kind of matches the color, I think, when held with Tempête. And I'm really, really happy that it just so worked out that I could knit all of what I have right now. So the complete body, all of the ribbing, the arms, and the ribbing on the arms with the Ito Sensai yarn. And I now can do the button band with Tempête held with the La Mana Premia. So hopefully it will look nice and the color difference in the button band won't be as visible or as distracting, because it is kind of a different part of the cardigan, instead of me kind of starting with the La Mana Premia at the middle of the sleeve or having to work it in, kind of alternating mohairs. That was the plan that I had, and it worked out perfectly. So I needed exactly 100 grams of mohair for everything that I have knit now. I knit to the length that she suggests in the pattern. I think that if I had more yarn and wasn't playing yarn chicken with this wool, I would maybe knit it a little bit longer, but I loved the pattern so much that I could imagine knitting another one of these and then maybe making it a little bit of a longer cardigan that kind of goes over my butt as well, because this one hits me right at where my jeans end when they're kind of a regular waist. I will show you the yoke closer up. This is what it looks like. These are the sleeves. I knit all of this so far, except for then the button bands, on 5mm needles. Ozetta does not suggest sizing down for the ribbing, which I have not done so far. So far, I think all of the patterns that I knit, I sized down for the ribbing, but this time I didn't, and I like the kind of looser look it gives. You do a tubular cast off on the ribbing on the sleeves and also on the body. You shape the collar a little bit at the beginning, and there is short rows on the shoulders here. I love this boxy fit of this cardigan. I will wear it a lot, I think, especially because of the dark blue color that I love so much. I think I have a lot of dark blue objects today. I'm so happy that I could use almost all stash yarn for this project. I always get a lot of joy from that, and kind of I'm happy to be able to have made more space for new acquisitions in the future. I would love to make another one of those, but I will get to that once we get to the spring planning and acquisition part of this video. The next whip I have is a really fun one. I made this Henry the Orangutan. It's a pattern by Cynthia Valet a couple of months ago. I don't think I showed this in a podcast episode yet, but I will maybe make a video where I talk about this a little bit more. So this is Henry, and Henry, as you can see, is naked at the moment. He doesn't have anything to wear, and Cynthia Valet has beautiful, beautiful clothes for her animals in her book, Moosh and Friends. This is it. So this is him or it in the book, wearing this kind of purple sweater. And I had a little look into my stash and decided to make this monkey a little sweater as well. I am using the Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Blue Tit. that I had left over from my champagne cardigan. I'm holding it single, and I am using 3.0 millimeter needles for everything except for the collar and the arm ribbing. For that, I'm using 2.0 millimeter needles. This little sweater is adorable. It is a bottom-up construction with this really cool checkered design, which is made out of pearls and then twisted rib. The sweater has twisted rib on the arms and regular rib on the little turtleneck and the sleeves. I adore every single pattern out of the Moosh and Friends book. I have made a couple of little animals as well as outfits for them, and I think it is absolutely mind-blowing how high quality the patterns for the animals themselves are, but also how much thought Cynthia puts into the things that they are wearing. This rib detail, the twisted rib, all of the thought that goes into constructing a little garment for these cute little friends, to me is mind-blowing, and I have so much fun knitting up her designs, and I'm looking forward to doing more. So this is where I'm at right now. Really cute. Really cute. I love it. And I will be making more. Now we are at the part of the podcast where I want to share my spring plans and also my acquisitions. For the next couple of weeks, I have been knitting a lot of things from Stash in the last couple of weeks and months. And I did get a little gift card to visit my favorite yarn shop. So I kind of took that opportunity to get some yarn to use for upcoming projects. When planning for spring, I have two things in mind. One is, what do I need? What kind of is missing in my own wardrobe, and what do maybe some of the people that I want to gift knit for need, or what do I see on them? And then the second big factor is that I will be more or less heavily pregnant in the next couple of weeks, and I have noticed that I am struggling with really complicated knits at the moment, and I'm really happy with doing just stockinette and around, or a little bit of ribbing, constructions that are not as complicated. So that's what I have in mind when planning for spring. I did visit two of my favorite yarn shops in Munich last week, which one of them is Die Mercerie and the other one is Rauwerk. And I did pick up 4 different types of yarns for my next couple of projects. I will share them with you and then kind of talk about the corresponding projects that I have in mind for them. The first acquisition that I have is a really special one. I got 600 grams of the Wendelstein Schafwolle, so sheep's wool, at the yarn store Rauwerk. This yarn was €9.50 per skein. It is called the Annabelle Tweed, and it is in the color light gray, 103, and it is a very rustic 100% Bavarian merino. It is milled in Germany, and it is this beautiful light gray color with specks of, here you can see it a little bit, blue and pink and yellow and red. Here maybe it's not picking up that well. Originally I was looking for a light gray or maybe light cream color for a cardigan, and when I went to Rauwerk and saw that they had this tweedy version of what I was looking for, I was really captured and thought, you know, this will these little specks of color will add to my project and will make me really happy about picking something really special. This is what the label looks like. You can order online from them, I think, from Rauwerk, and get this yarn. It is about 225 meters for 100 grams. So it is a DK weight yarn, and it is 2-ply woolen spun merino rustic yarn. It smells a lot like sheep, a little bit of hay in it as well, which is, I think, my favorite kind of yarn. As I said, I got 600 grams of this to get a good, nice quantity for a sweater or a cardigan, and I think I want to make a cardigan out of this. One that's, as I said, a little bit longer than the port jacket that I just made. So to hold with this, because it is quite rustic and I do like a little bit of a softer feel on my skin, I got 150 grams of the La Mana Premia mohair at Die Mercerie, which is another yarn store here in Munich. This is colorway 47 and it's $15.95 per skein. I have knit with this mohair before. I love it. It's super soft, and I got the Annabelle tweed first and then took it to Lames or Die Mercerie and looked for a mohair that would fit with this tweed. And I think that because this mohair is a little bit more of a warmer gray and this tweed is a little bit of a cooler gray, I will get what I was originally looking for when knitting those two together, which is a little bit of a creamy gray. So I'm really excited to knit up a swatch once I have decided on what I want to knit with these two fibers. I do have some ideas for what I want to do with the fibers. The first idea that I have in mind is to knit the Maya cardigan by We Made Wardrobe, which is a pattern that costs €7.95. It is knit out of a DK weight yarn, and it comes in the sizes extra small to 3 extra large. The pattern has an oversized boxy fit, kind of like the port jacket, and similar to the port jacket, it also has a drop shoulder, 1x1 ribbed cuffs. A detail that I really liked is this horizontal stitch line that is placed before the ribbing on the arms and also on the body ribbing. It makes it really special, and it has a folded over neckline, which I really enjoy. It makes it a little bit more sturdy. I would love to make this pattern. However, it is kind of similar to the port jacket by Ozetta. I think I could modify the port jacket to have it look a little bit more like the Maya jacket. However, I would like to support the designer that thought of the Maya jacket, so I'm kind of debating on whether I should do a modified port jacket for this project or just purchase the Maya jacket and see where the differences are, to kind of review the pattern as well and try something new. We will have to see. I haven't made my decision yet, and I am prioritizing my other spring plan before this one, so I still have couple of weeks to think about it and make my decision. I do think the tweed would look really cool in the Maya pattern. It's a cool girl cardigan pattern in my mind. Something completely different that I'm also thinking about doing, but is less realistic for me, I guess, is knitting the Dagmar jacket by Petite Knit out of this combination of yarn. It is an Aran weight pattern that comes in the sizes extra small to 5XL, and it is a top-down cabled cardigan. I'm sure you have all seen it before, and I would love to knit it one day. I just don't think that I have the mind capacity right now to do all of these cabled charts. Doing this simple ribbing on a tiny little sweater was at times too much of a mental challenge for me during pregnancy. So I think that the Dagmar jacket will be something for maybe later in my life. But I do think that these two yarns held together would make a beautiful Dagmar jacket. Then, as I said, I could imagine doing the port jacket again out of these two yarns. If I do the port jacket, then I will definitely modify it. I have thought about making a longer version, as I said, that is more of a long drapey cardigan. And I have also thought about kind of modifying this ribbing here at the armhole and making one either without the ribbing or including some type of different ribbing, maybe a cable here, to make it look a little bit different than the one that I'm knitting right now. I do think it will look completely different because the yarn combination is completely different. I have a tweed yarn that's a little bit thicker than the Gilia, but I do have some time to think about it, so I'm not stressing myself out. Maybe if you have any patterns in mind where you would say this yarn is perfect for it, then leave a comment down below and let me know, because I'm definitely still on the lookout for more patterns that I could do with this combination of yarn, as I said. The second acquisition / spring plan is centered all around the Sniff Nook wool by Camaros. I got 300 grams of this yarn at Rauwerk, and it was about €8.95 per skein. I chose the colorway teal 7997. This project will be gifted to another colleague of mine, another midwife, and it is made out of 55% alpaca, 35% organic cotton, and then 10% fine merino. 50 grams have about 110 meters, and this yarn choice was inspired by my mom, who knit the Selma sleep suit recently by Petite Knit, and she used the Sniff Nook in a more natural colorway. This yarn is so soft and comes in beautiful colors, so I definitely went to the yarn shop to buy this pattern and then looked for a pattern that I could make out of this. I do have one pattern in my library that can use this yarn, or is written, this yarn is a suggestion for this pattern. That is the Holiday Slipover by Petite Knit. So the second acquisition I have is a mohair yarn. This one is the Rowan Kid Silk Haze. I got 100 grams of this for the pattern that I'm going to do, and it is 70% mohair with 30% silk. 25 grams of this run at about 210 meters. So this is what the two yarns look like together. Obviously the Kid Silk Haze is a little bit lighter than the teal from Camaros. I think on camera the Kid Silk looks a lot more brighter and bluer than it does in person, so it is more of a color match in real life, I would say, just by looking at the viewfinder. So this is the yarn I got. The pattern that I want to do is the Holiday Slipover by Petite Knit. It is a pattern that costs about 6 or 7 euros. I do have it in my library because I have knit this pattern twice, I think in 2020, for myself. And as I said, you hold an Aran weight yarn double, plus then you add a mohair or a lace weight yarn, which then gets you to a super bulky weight for this slipover. It is knit up on 10 and 9 millimeter needles, which makes this project flow by. I think in my size, which at the time was a size small, it took me like 1 or 2 days this a slipover. I am making this slipover for my colleague in the size extra large, and the sizes range from extra small to 5XL. It is a top-down construction, unit mostly stockinette, classic slipover construction, I would say. It has a split rib edge, which I love, and Italian cast off on the bottom. It is really a classic, I think, that I have seen on a lot of people here where I live, and my mom has made one as well. I think my colleague will appreciate it a lot. I'm really excited to start this very soon. So my third spring plan is a really exciting one that I have already casted on. So I decided to cast on a little pig as a friend for him or it. So I decided to cast on the pig pattern by Cynthia Valet. Alphonse or Mira is what they're called in the pattern book. I will just show you what the little pig looks like in the pattern book. I have already casted this on. This is what I have so far, which is just the face, and it does look a little bit creepy at the moment. I think that these patterns really come to life once you have the head done and also have stuffed the head already. Until that, it looks a little bit, a little creepy, I would say. But I do already love it. Alphonse is a little piggy that is about 20 centimeter or 7 inches high. It is knit in a light fingering weight yarn. I have this one right here. It is a sock yarn that I sadly don't know the name or maker of. It is a hand-dyed yarn that I picked up at some yarn market, and I can't remember what this was called, but it is just this muted pink that has some variegation because of being hand dyed, which is my favorite type of yarn to use for these little animals, because something that is kind of produced, like mass produced, will not have this diversity in the yarn, I guess, and having that hand dyed look to it kind of makes it feel more natural, I think, when you have a little bit of like marling in the project, I would say. You do knit this project on 2.0 millimeter needles, so very tiny needles. I am using double pointed needles for the beginning of the piggy, and I will switch to magic loop once I get to the body. That is what I have done with all of the other animals that I have made by Cynthia Valet. You do need some little eyes for the project as well, and some contrasting thread to do the mouth. The next step for me is to add the little ears and shape the head. And then after that, these animals really flow by. They're contiguous constructions, so you don't have to sew on anything basically, which is amazing. And as I said when talking about Henry, these patterns are just so good and of such a high quality that I would really recommend trying it out and seeing for yourself if you're into making little animals as well. Oh, and Alphonse and Mira also have clothes as well, and I do have some orange leftover sock yarn to pair with the pig for making a little cabled sweater that Alphonse is wearing in the book, and also for the pants. I think I should have enough. It's also a big plus for these patterns that you don't need a lot of yarn for any of them. This pattern calls for about 25 grams of the main color of the pink, and then 5 grams for the trotters, so the feet. I am flying to France to Provence, and I will be taking all of the yarn that I need for the slipover, for the holiday slipover, and I will also be taking little Alphonse with me so that I have a tiny little project on 2.0 millimeter needles, and then also a really easy on the go in the car project on the 10 millimeter needles that the holiday slipover calls for. So those two will be my holiday projects, which I'm so looking forward to. Maybe I'll bring a third one, but I think I'll be set with these two for now. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I really liked all of the projects that I had to share today, and I'm looking forward to the next podcast episode where I'm gonna hopefully be able to present you a finished port jacket and have made my decision on what to do with my newly acquired yarn. Maybe a little pig will be sitting next to the orangutan. We'll see. I'm excited for what's to come, and I am on maternity leave now, so I hope that I will be able to get stuff done before the baby comes. I hope you have a beautiful day, and make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out, and I have made some projects vlogs that kind of didn't get that much attention, but I put a lot of work into it, and I really love how they turned out. So if you want, then maybe check those out as well on my channel. I hope you have a nice day, as I said, and I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye.